So, you are a photographer and all your friends and family know about it, but sometimes they don't support you as well as you would like, or you have a partner or a spouse who starts saying negative things about your business and doesn't really understand how things work or see the potential. How does that affect you and how does that affect your business? Let's talk about it today on the Focal Points podcast. Welcome to Focal Points, an end photo podcast hosted by Dorie Howell. This is the place to be if you want to ditch the overwhelm in your business and start creating a business that you love. Hello and welcome to the Focal Points podcast brought to you by End Photo. I'm your host, Dorie Howell, and I'm so glad that you've decided to spend a little bit of time with me today. Let's talk about friends and family and how they can impact our business. This is a big topic and it can get really complicated, and it's not always something that's fun to address or deal with. Our loved ones can be our biggest supporters in our business, but they can also cause the largest amount of problems. We love it when they support us, but what happens when they don't? And why does this happen? How can we avoid it? And do we even really need them anyway? I think I'm about to tell you a familiar story because this is exactly what happened to me. And so I'm going to guess that it's more common than people might think. There once was a girl. That was me. I was that girl who got a nice camera as a gift. And she was thrilled with this gift because it meant that she could take beautiful images of her family and her new baby and all those types of things. And I immediately started taking she started taking thousands of pictures of her beautiful baby, playing in Photoshop, playing with RAW, different file formats, and posting them on social media. And she started to get a lot of positive feedback from the images that she was posting. And it was wonderful. Her friends and her family, they all loved seeing these surprise images pop up, and they raved about how good she was and how well she was capturing her family. And so then all of a sudden she started getting requests from people wanting them to do this for them, to capture their family in images. And the idea sounded great. So when she asked her friends and family about the idea if she should start a business, they all said, yes, start a business. That sounds great. You should do it. You're going to be awesome. And they lined up for all those free portfolio building sessions. And they liked her page on social media. And they even shared the images that she took on their social media accounts. And things were going great. The girl thought that she was onto something really, really incredible. And she could see a booming business in her future. After all, how could she lose when all her friends and family supported this venture that she was going to go on? They were her biggest cheerleaders, and they were going to stand by her side no matter what. She was set. She was ready to start business. She was ready to go. And as time went on, as she got better at her craft and better at running her studio, she invested in education. She jumped feet first into learning all about business and how to run a successful business. Something interesting started to happen. As she became more proficient as a business owner and as a photographer, her friends slowly but surely started pulling away. They didn't hire her for sessions anymore. They stopped sharing her work. They actually started going to other photographers and posting their work instead. And they kind of started acting maybe a little bit resentful of her success, the success that she was seeing and that she had built and worked so hard for at their encouragement. Gone were the days of her receiving support. And all of a sudden, it seemed like she was not even on the list of being respected as a business owner by the people that she cared about the most. Sound familiar? That's my story. Now, I don't begrudge my friends and family for pulling away and changing directions. That's completely natural. As I've dug into this, I've seen how common this is. But it stung at the time. I mean, why did they have such a shift in attitude and not support her dream anymore? I mean, she started her business because they told her it was a good idea. They told her that they were supporting her 100%. And now none of them were hiring her. And that was hard. And now they weren't even liking things on Instagram or social media. What was up with that? So things get interesting, as I learned the hard way when you start a business. Many friends will support you 100% as long as things work in their favor. They're getting free photo shoots. They're getting stuff to post on social media. They're getting that interaction. But as soon as something shifts out of their favor and they decide, oh, I need to start paying for this and I need to start paying a lot for this because you're trying to run a business, they pull away and they may not support you as well. They can't take advantage of your giving spirit anymore because, quite honestly, you let them get away with it probably for too long, and now you've had to change, and they don't like that. And then what happens, this is the kicker, when they start giving you unsolicited advice about how you should run your business, and they start seeing that you're successful, but they don't really like it that much. It's changed the dynamic of the relationship when it comes to those images and those sessions. See, things were great when you were one of them, sitting around complaining because you're broke and you're poor and all those types of things. And you're commiserating about how you can't go on vacation or buy that new car or save for retirement or all those types of things. You were one of them. But how dare you take the initiative to try and make your life better, your financial situation better, and just become a better person and leave them behind to lift yourself up to a higher level of personal development and growth? A lot of people do not like that. When you start raising your bar up and their bar stays the same, they can become resentful. They don't like it because what that does is that shines on them. It's a reflection on them, but they want to take that out on you. So they pull away. The fact is that relying on friends and family to support your business is not necessarily a long-term strategy for success. Friends want to support you as long as it works in their favor, right? We've learned that from my story. And it's great when you're first starting out. You need that emotional boost. You need that connection to the people who you care about. And all of it's wonderful. And it can get you through some really dark days, but it really only goes so far. The true test of running a sustainable business is if strangers buy your stuff. So many of us get caught up in the positive emotions that our friends and family throw our way as we start out, and we believe that kind of encouragement is going to last forever. But it doesn't. Little do we know that somewhere down the line, people are going to start pulling away. And we don't know when that's going to be. That's the thing that's so hard. It's like all of a sudden it happens and you're sitting there going, hey, what's the deal? Because you were never warned that this was going to be a problem, and it can be a crushing blow to your confidence. Now, that is all well and good when it's your friends. You can kind of deal with your friends, but what happens when it's your family? When you're dealing with a situation that it's with your most intimate relationships and they aren't supportive anymore? Great question. Let's talk about that next. Okay, I just want to interrupt things for a really quick second and let you know that InPhoto, the host of this podcast, offers some of the best discounts for sample products that are available to photographers today. If you head over to our show notes page at blog.infphoto.com/podcast, that's blog.infphoto.com/podcast, you will see a link where you can go and get my special just for podcast listeners. It's where you can get a 75% discount off one of their beautiful sample products and a discount for a year for client orders, which is amazing. I love this feature and this generosity of InPhoto. So if you are not a client of theirs, if you've always wanted to check out their products, or you're thinking of using them for your professional needs, go ahead and check that out today on our show notes page. Again, the URL is blog.infphoto.com/podcast. Check it out today. When it comes to a spouse or a partner, this can get really tricky because what's happening is that you're shifting the dynamic in the relationship to accommodate for your business. And there's a lot of things at play that we need to consider because we are the ones shifting the dynamic. If you are dealing in a relationship with someone that has never been self-employed before, doesn't know everything that goes into it, doesn't know how hard it can be, how to market a business. They just go off to work for someone else every day. They're not going to understand how this works. That's a completely foreign idea to them. They may not even understand why you would want to take that risk. So you need to approach this with a little bit more compassion and understanding, realizing that you're the one changing the game and they're just sitting there wondering like, what the heck is going on? You're asking them to contribute a lot to this business in time and even possible financial resources. Let's face it, running this photography gig is not cheap. Cameras, lenses, websites, education, all that stuff, thousands and thousands of dollars, and it can cost that upon startup. And if you are not in a situation where you're able to earn that money and you're asking a partner to subsidize that for you, and they're not seeing the benefits of that, they're not reaping any results of that, it can get tricky and they can become resentful. And you need to be in communication. So when you have young kids, for example, and you want to spend every weekend with them and you're spending every evening with your spouse, watching a movie together, hanging out together, going to the gym together, and all of a sudden every weekend is spent taking pictures of someone else's kid, and every weeknight is spent editing in your office or on your laptop where you're ignoring them, that's a big shift. And if you haven't had any communication with them about how to address that and what's going to be happening, they could be really caught off guard. And instead of, let's face it, in a lot of relationships, we don't necessarily have the best, most open communication. What happens is you start changing your business and they're just becoming resentful that you're not spending as much time with them, but they may not be able to put into words exactly what that means. It disrupts the family flow, and you need to communicate this with them. They get the courtesy of a conversation, and you need to own it. You need to own, like I said earlier, you need to own the fact that you are changing the game. So we talked about financial investment, that it's expensive. Who's paying for that? And if you're expecting someone else to support this vision of yours, they do have a right to know what is going on in your business, especially at startup, and they become resentful. But those are pretty easy fixes when it comes to communication and letting them in. And if they love you, they're going to want to support you. They just want to be in on the vision. They're not going to see your vision. And like I said earlier, if they're a person that's never run their own business, they don't understand the ebb and the flow. And some months you're really busy and other months you're not busy at all. It's totally foreign concept to them. So you have to explain it. Entrepreneurs are a completely different breed of people who take the risk to start their own business and to go out there and take the world by the horns are different than people who go to report to an office every day. And what can happen is, in their not understanding exactly what's going on, it can come across as unsupportive. When I think, for the most part, our partners and our spouses want to be supportive of what we're doing, but it's hard for them to support it when they don't understand. And there's also some people that just are never going to see your vision. They're never going to understand exactly what you're doing. But you can't change the way they think. And that's really important to understand. You cannot be responsible for how they look at a situation. You can't be responsible for their perspective, because their perspective has been made a very specific way from how they're raised, how they're working, that type of thing. Just like your perspective is your perspective, and that has been formed the same way with years and years of being exposed to certain messages. The success in your business is not up to your spouse. It isn't. And a lot of people don't want to hear that. They say, well, I can't do this unless my partner supports me. That's not true. You can totally do this if your partner doesn't support you. The one person that you need to be concerned about and you really, really need to work on is you. What type of person do you need to be to run this business? The only way a spouse's or a partner's negative thoughts actually impact your business is if you let them. You can't control what they think. Wouldn't that be nice sometimes, right? If we could, but you can't. So you can't let that impact you, but listen very carefully to what will bring you down in your business if it gets too out of control. If you start judging them with your thoughts, it isn't about what they think. It's about your reaction to what they think and how they come at you with those thoughts and those words. You have to not judge them. You can't become resentful for the lack of understanding or support. That negative energy will impact your business and your relationship with them. You have to set their attitudes and thoughts free and realize that they're entitled to their own opinions, just like you are entitled to yours. They have free will to think whatever they want, and you can't control it. Try and let any negative comments go and take the energy that gives you, turn it into a positive, and let that fuel you towards success. But here's the thing. It goes back to the financial investment. If they're financially vested in your business and they're supporting it financially in any way, you can't totally leave them in the dark. You need to set some short-term and long-term goals. You need to bring them in on those goals. If they ask questions about how it's going to happen, you need to have a plan. That's why a good business plan it's very helpful for this. Set the goals, and you need to be accountable to those goals. Set dates, Set times that you're going to accomplish certain things, put them on the calendar, and then come up with a follow-up plan. So maybe you're addressing this every 2 weeks or every month, that they understand that you're taking this seriously and they can see the action that is happening to drive your business to success. Trust me, many, many times those family members are going to come around once you start selling your images. And if you sell them on a scale large enough, it's actually going to start to impress them. And once you become really well known in your industry and in your community for what you do, they're going to start talking about it and they're going to be your biggest fans. Now, I know that not all of us live with spouses like mine that are just going to be perfectly fine with monthly check-ins and conversations about what is going on. So what if you're living in an especially difficult situation with someone who not only doesn't support you, but tells you that all the time and is resentful of the time that you're spending and doesn't like the fact that maybe you are starting to make a lot more money and maybe you're starting to make more money than they are and the dynamic in the relationship has shifted a little bit. How can you address that? So I'm going to tell you, but I'm also have something for you. If you head over to the show notes page at blog.nphoto.com/podcast, blog.nphoto.com/podcast, I have something over there that you can download that will help you with some of these steps in dealing with a situation that is especially challenging with a partner or a spouse. So realize, number one, is realize that in most situations, they really do want what is best for you. And they just don't know how to communicate it. That's a big, big thing. And if you can truly get back to the part where they don't want what's best for them, they're only looking out for their own self-interest, that's a whole dynamic in your relationship that you need to address outside your business because it probably is impacting other things besides just your business. So the second thing is especially if they are supporting you financially, don't try and hide the financial part of the business, especially when you're starting out. Have the conversation of how much money you're going to need, what you're going to buy, what's the return on investment for that money. Let them know you're probably going to be spending money to get this thing going and let them know how long this is going to last. Have that conversation with them. Don't put this all on them. This isn't their responsibility to get your business up and running. You've decided to do this, so you need to take responsibility for that. And if you try and put it on them, they are not going to like it and they will start to resent you for it. Have a plan, like I said earlier. Have that business plan ready to go so you can show them on paper that you've actually thought about this and you have a plan of how this is going to work. And then fourth, sometimes people just can't help themselves with what comes out of their mouth and be negative, and they don't always understand how it impacts the people who are listening to what they're saying. So if they can't keep their negative mouths shut, sit them down and have a conversation about respecting your vision. Because if they care about you, they're going to want to respect you. And let them know you would appreciate the courtesy of giving you some time to get this thing worked out. Ask for the freedom to build something that could be really great. And I'm not asking for permission, but this is just a way that you can soften this dynamic a little bit and bring them in a caring way. Set a firm goal and stick to it. Respect them enough to be transparent on your progress if they want updates. And don't wait for them to ask for updates. Give them updates on a regular schedule. Put it on your calendar like a business meeting with them so that they know it's coming and be prepared to answer all questions at that time. And then when they're asking you questions, remember a question is just a question. It doesn't have to be emotionally charged. So answer that as clearly as you can. And if you don't have the answer, give them a time when you will get back to them. Honor those time commitments with them. I promise it will make things so much better. You need to believe in your goals. You need to believe in your vision. It's not anyone else's responsibility to do so, but you need to believe that they're going to be happen no matter what. You may not know how they're going to happen, and that's okay, but you just need to know that it's going to happen. And if you don't have a plan right now, you're going to figure it out along the way. If you're wishy-washy about your goals and your vision and where you want your business to go, they're just not going to happen. Act from a place that success is inevitable. It is going to happen, and see what happens. I know that I'm onto a really good thing when I start waking up really early in the morning, only thinking about that particular thing and only thinking about my business. And this is how I am about my business. It is an all consuming thought process for me. I literally have to almost flip a switch in my brain when I'm going into family time or anything like that to put the business things aside and only concentrate on the people that I care about and I love. Your vision needs to be that clear. Your vision needs to be crystal clear. And that's going to make it easier to market your business, to find clients, to shoot your sessions, to get your products ordered. With a clear vision, you can do anything. And it has to be very compelling in your mind. So, number 6 on this. This is the tough love part that a lot of times people don't want to hear. Remember, a startup is a startup for only so long. Eventually, a business must grow. Just like a baby grows from newborn to infant to toddler, it goes through these stages. Your business is very much the same. It cannot stay a baby forever. Could you imagine as a parent, if you have a child, if a newborn baby stayed with all those needs and all that emotional energy that they need for longer than they do? It would be exhausting. And you can't do that with your business either, especially if you are in a situation where someone else is footing the bill for your business. Now, if it stays a baby too long, what's going to happen is that you're going to just have a really expensive hobby. And there's nothing wrong with expensive hobbies. I have some expensive hobbies and I'm perfectly fine with that. But if you're relying on this to become a mature business that is profitable and sustainable and is contributing to the bottom line of your pockets and helping you financially, your business has to grow up. And if you don't become profitable in the time designated, then you need to respect someone who might be helping fund this proposition that you're trying to build, in realizing that at a certain point, if it's not profitable and it's not working, that you need to come to a conclusion on what you need to do next and how you want to move forward. Now, I'm not saying you need to abandon your plans for having a great photography business. I'm just saying that you need to take these things serious. I know many photographers who still have startups and they've been in the game for 3 years and their business has never been profitable. If you are in a relationship with someone, that is not okay. If you are expecting them to take care of all the fallout because of the time that you're spending on your business or provide financial support for that business, respect that and respect your partners in that. Lastly, I want to address something that I see online that really kind of sticks in my craw, as my mom would have said back in the day, is that someone will post online, they'll vent for a minute saying their spouse, their husband, their wife, whoever it is, doesn't support their business and it's causing them great emotional turmoil. Well, we've already learned that you don't necessarily need their support, their emotional support, to run a successful business. You don't. But if you're asking them, like I've said several times, to support you financially or through the workload and the dynamic of the relationship, all of a sudden they have a lot more work to do because you're sitting at your computer editing all the time. You need to address this. But what I see on the interwebs is people say, oh, I would never stay with someone who didn't support me. You need to leave him. They need to support you, all that type of thing. Personally, I believe that you wouldn't throw an otherwise healthy marriage or long-term relationship away because you wanted to start a photography business. It's important to realize, like we said at the beginning, that you are changing the game. You are the one that is requiring more of them. And you need to take responsibility for that part. And dare I say, extend a little grace and understanding to your partner, even when they may not be extending it to you. This all comes back to the communication with them, that you want to love and respect each other and respect opinions, and letting them know that certain comments hurt your feelings. And if they care about you, they'll understand this and maybe start seeing a way that you want to grow. One of the biggest reasons you cannot listen to negative influences in your business is that many times those influences have no idea what it's like to run a photography business. So I used to say this in an old Facebook group that I was a part of. People would comment and say, they don't support me. Or somebody said my prices were too high, or somebody said my process was ridiculous. And I always came back with the fact, I'm like, well, how is their photography business going? Are they a successful photographer? Do they know what this is like? And many times the answer is no. In fact, many times the people who feel most vocal about sharing their negative opinions about what you're doing are people that have no idea what it's like to run a business themselves. They're just going and working for the man, right? They sit there, they're armchair quarterbacks, spouting out their own limiting beliefs about how much money you should earn, how many clients you should book, when they have no idea how it works. They haven't listened to the classes you have. They haven't spent time sweating over a price sheet. They haven't researched products, let alone learned how to use the camera to create beautiful art that your clients will love. To say they have no idea is such an understatement. Like, they have no idea, no comprehension whatsoever about what you're trying to build and how it works. Unless they have created a creative business from scratch in this environment of social media and oversaturation, they truly, truly, truly have no idea. They are so clueless. Like, it's kind of funny, but it's not funny when it's coming down on you, right? It's like your friend who has never had a kid and has no experience with kids at all trying to give you parenting advice. Yeah, no, thank you. So what we need to realize as entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, and creative beings is that we are going to get negative energy from a lot of different places when we start something new. That's just the way it is. People can't help it. People feel like they have the right to share their opinions with us, whether we want those opinions or not. And those opinions are going to take all different directions. At first, they might be really supportive, and then they'll shift because they realize they can't take advantage of you, and they'll become negative. It's in our best interest to realize that this is going to happen and to try and develop a thick skin about it, especially those opinions of people who are not entrepreneurs or photographers. Just come in one ear, out the other, smile and nod your head. Thank you for your feedback. Keep going on, right? As soon as you announce your big dream or you announce your new initiative, pricing, product, etc., you need to be ready for them to come in and try and tell you what they think and how it's either a good idea or a bad idea. One thing that really sticks out in my mind is that when we were about to announce the name of our daughter, we didn't really actually finalize her name until she was born, but we had down to a list of 3 things, and we had narrowed it down. And I learned very, very quickly by observing my friends and my family when they announced their babies' names, how people would react. Before a baby was born, people were very, very, very vocal about a child's name, negative or positive. And they had no problem telling everybody that it was a good name or a bad name, right? But what I also observed was after the baby was born, nobody voiced that negative opinion. So maybe in the term of your business, you need to birth that baby business before you share too much with friends and family, right? Because their input is not always helpful. It's not always going to get you to the next level. And like with my daughter's name, I just always said, well, we're just going to keep that between us. When she arrives, everyone will know her name. And then we announced it and everyone loved it. It's Sydney, by the way. Sometimes you just need to shut the door on all that negativity and let it go, especially when your business is new. It's okay not to disclose everything, not to share everything with the world. And in this time of social media, I see that happening more and more and more, especially with some people that I'm just like, you don't need to share that. You don't need to tell people that. Just do it and then see what happens, and everyone will love it when it finally happens. You don't need to overshare. And all of us know people who overshare. So you don't need to do that in your business. So whenever your mom, your partner, your spouse, child, friend, or anyone else decides they want to bless you with all their great business advice on how to run your business, like I said, just put a smile on your face, say thank you very much, and then in the back of your head say, bless your heart. It isn't worth trying to explain. They're not going to get it. Don't waste your time. Let it roll off your back, and as Elsa would say, just let it go. Remember, the best way to shut these people up is to become a massive success. Once that happens, they will be your biggest, biggest fans. I believe in you. I know you can do it. And if you need any help, please reach out. If you want to learn more about this, be sure and head over to our show notes page at blog.nphoto.com/podcast and click to get the resource there about how to navigate these tricky relationships with friends and family in starting your business. And also, while you're there, be sure and download the information that nPhoto has this month, this awesome, awesome mini session resource. Even if you're not thinking about doing mini sessions now, this won't be available forever, so you've got to get it so that when you're ready to do your mini sessions, you know exactly how to do them with templates, calendars, and a lot of helpful advice from many professionals. As always, thank you so much for spending some time with me today. Be sure you follow me on Instagram at the Dorie Howell and send me any feedback or suggestions you have for the podcast. I would love to connect. Thank you for joining me today, and join me next time when we're going to be talking all about fear in your business and how it can truly stop you from realizing your dream. Have a great day. See you next time. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Focal Points podcast by Nphoto. Be sure and check out our show notes page at blog.nphoto.com/podcast for your free downloads and information about all the lab specials that you can get at Nphoto. We'll see you next time.